Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, or it is called, Don't Worry, Just Be. I say it is called because it's actually a talk that I gave at the Miracles Network in London. It was a Zoom meeting. They invited me to speak and I went ahead and said yes because I've known them for quite a few years. And this talk is going to be based strictly on the teachings of A Course in Miracles. I do not talk about A Course in Miracles, although it is what introduced me formally to non-duality. However, because this particular organization addresses the teachings of A Course in Miracles, I went ahead and gave the talk, which is the same thing that I've been saying in all these videos, but I'm also using the Course in Miracles language to complement it. So just so you know, if you're not a student of Course in Miracles, or you have for some reason no affinity to that teaching, you're still gonna take advantage of the information of this particular talk because it's always pointing to the fact that I am only that is using A Course in Miracles language. Having said that, without any further ado, here's the talk. Enjoy it.
Okay, hi everybody. And as you can see, the title, just don't worry, just be. Not even asking you to be happy, because happy is a judgment. Happy is an interpretation. But beingness is what you are always. It always is. You never have stopped being. Now, when it comes to non-duality, we use that language basically as a pointer. But non-duality is something that cannot be talked about because non-duality is the essence of what we are anyway, prior the seeming projection of a world, prior the seeming projection of a body, prior to anything. So technically speaking, it's not something we can talk about. And what I'm going to use are pointers. Words are just pointers. In other words, we can talk all we want about the taste of a sugar cane. We can talk, we can do all sorts of things about it. We can talk about it. We can spend years on doing the research, but in the end, words are not the experience, are really not going to lead you to anywhere near to what the taste of the sugar cane is. However, I can use words as pointers by saying, walk a couple of blocks. That field that you see over there is called a sugarcane field. Go in there, take a piece of sugarcane, break it in two pieces, and bite on it. That's as far as I can go. The moment you bite on it, now you have the experience, and there is no longer a need to talk about the taste of a sugarcane. Well, for me, for A Course in Miracles, the theory is simple. I mean, if you don't confuse the levels, so to speak, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I wanted what the Course is promising. I'm not interested in the theory. The theory could be nice, but when I find myself dealing with the issues that seems to be happening in the world of appearances, just knowing that I am one with God doesn't serve me anything. It doesn't help me at all. I want to know on a practical level if it's true where the Course is pointing to. And hopefully, somewhere along the line of this talk, you'll be able to see that, oh my God, this is so obvious. How did I miss it? And we missed it because we're trying to understand the Course and apply it from the perspective of the individual. In other words, imagine that you're in bed and you're dreaming. In the dream, you think that the one in the dream is you, but there's no one in the dream. There's no one there. However, let's say that a book called A Course in Miracles shows up in the dream, but not for the character in the dream. It's showing up in the dream because the mind that is projecting the dream is so identified with the character in the dream and with the dream, that it needs something in the dream to tell her or tell him or tell it to withdraw the attention from the dream, not to fix the dream, not to do anything in the dream. It simply withdraw the attention from the dream. But if you withdraw the attention from the dream, then the dream at some point stop being a distraction, and then the recognition that I am the dreamer of the dream can become obvious. Well, we cannot recognize the fact that we are from the perspective of this individual. But as lesson 155 says, there's a way of living in the world that is not of it. You see, you don't change appearances. However, your forehead is serene, your eyes seems to be tranquil, and there's a reason for that. And this is all we're going to be talking about here, to see how the obvious is being really overlooked. Now, let's look at how the Course addresses. Jesus says, of course, because we're referring to the Course in Miracles, the reason this course is simple is that truth is simple. Complexity is of the ego and is nothing more than the ego's attempt to obscure the obvious. Now, what is the ego? It's funny because we hear a lot that, oh, I have an ego. I have a big ego. Oh, my ego. It's like looking for something to blame to justify the way I'm feeling or whatever. It's because I have an ego. Well, let's look at an ego first. According to the Course, the ego is nothing more than a part of your belief about yourself. Your other life has continued without interruption and has been and always will be totally unaffected by your attempts to disassociate. So before we get a little bit and talk about the ego, let's go to the Course's introduction. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Okay, so you want to know what the ego is. It's very simple. The ego is a thought. That's it. And that thought that we call is the ego has no power over us whatsoever. The problem is not the thought, the ego. The problem is we believe in the thought. We believe what the thought says because we do not know what is meant by that thought. So if you go to the bathroom or anything, go in front of a mirror and you look at a reflection, right? You see a body in there. You see the reflection. You're looking at the ego. Why? Because the reflection is not real. The reflection is the mind through you projecting onto something. So you believe that you exist because you see the reflection, but in reality, that reflection is not you. That is just a reflection, it's a projection from the mind that is dreaming you. So technically speaking, it's not that I have an ego, it's that I am the ego. Why? Because ego is not a bad or a good thing. Ego is the believing separation. As long as I believe that I am a body, implies that I believe that I'm separate from wholeness. Consequently, I am the ego. You see? But in a subtle way, what the ego thought system would do, again, funny I have to use the language that way, it cannot hide making believe that, no, I am not the ego. I am a son of God. I happen to have an ego. No, 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 no. The ego is the belief in separation. In truth, there is no ego. So the ego is just a thought. And we're going to talk a little bit about more because that's what this whole talk is going to be about. So the first thing is forget about this idea of ego. Just completely get rid of it. There's no such thing as an ego. All that there is thoughts appearing and we believe in them. But anyhow, this is going to make perfect sense in a moment. Now, let's go another extract of the course. It says, to you who seem to find this course to be too difficult to learn, let me repeat that to achieve a goal, you must proceed in its direction, not away from it. And every road that leads the other way will not advance the purpose to be found. If this be difficult to understand, then is this course impossible to learn. But only then, for otherwise, it is a simple teaching of the obvious. In other words, it's always pointing to the fact that it's so simple, so obvious, and it's so overlooked. Why it's overlooked? It's overlooked because we're identified with the thoughts. And this whole world of perception, this body that appears to be here, is a thought in that which we cannot describe. Okay? That is why one of the things that we have to make sure is to remember that this course, this book, is not talking to you, the person who's in a Zoom listening to me. It's talking to the mind that is dreaming all of this. You see? This is why it seems to be confusing. Because the course says, I choose whatever I feel I choose. Yes, you're right. You chose to dream this whole dream. So you're choosing everything that is happening in here. You're choosing everything that is happening in the dream, but not you, the person. You are part of the projection itself. You see? You are a thought. As the course says, the thoughts are in you as much as you are a thought in the mind that is thinking of you. So this is not about me, the individual, awakening or becoming enlightened or one with God. No, no, no. This is about recognition that there's no such thing as an individual. However, I'm experiencing myself as an individual. It seems as though there's a person here that is talking to other people. Jesus says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of that. I'm only asking you one simple thing, to look. What does it mean, looking? Oh, it's very simple. Looking implies not judging, implies don't give any meaning to anything. Just look. Right now, looking is happening. However, in the mind, there's a thought that says, I, person, is looking. That's the first thought. It refers to as the fall, okay? The original sin, so to speak. And now that I am looking, the mind, through thinking, through thought, is interpreting everything that is seen. So it's not looking, it's judging. So what Jesus says is, I am going to help you experience the peace that surpasses all understanding. I'm not asking you to do anything in the dream. Leave the dream alone. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to make anything about it. Don't do anything about it. Don't do anything in the dream. All I'm asking you is don't believe anything you think. Now, It's so simple and it terrifies you. Why it terrifies us? Because if I don't believe anything I think, that implies that I cannot also believe the thought me, who I think I am. And it terrifies me because in the end, although I claim that I want peace, what I really want is to keep holding on to the sense of identity. I want to still believing that I'm a person, but who is at peace. You see? And that's why I believe it's lesson 185. I want the peace of God. When you look at paragraph number 5, it says very clearly, those who want the peace of God does not want illusions and is finding the way to attain them, to get a hold of them. So there's a middle ground where Jesus says, I will help you undo all of that. You don't have to do anything. Trust me. I don't need anything from you, just your little willingness. And what I'll teach you is how to look at the world the way I see it. It's not that if you all of a sudden stop believing your thoughts and everything, you're going to disappear, your family's going to disappear, you're going to lose your job. No, what's going to happen is that you're still going to live your same life. Nothing is going to change except the way you're looking at it. You see? That's all. Nothing else is going to change because you're not believing the story, the content of the mind. Technically speaking, it's a way of going back to the origin. When the baby is born, although if a baby is born, it implies that there is an ego that seems to be born, but within the context we're speaking, when the baby is born, the baby does not experience himself or herself apart from anything. The baby is just babying, put it this way. That's it. Then, when the baby develops the capacity to interpret, when the mind begins to develop the capacity to give meaning and to learn, that's when the seeming separation occurs. Why? Because now the baby is something separate from everything. And he acquires what is referred to a belief system. But the belief system is just thoughts. We're never reacting to the world. We're never reacting to anything. We're only reacting to our own thinking, or should I say to thinking, to believing the thoughts. So what Jesus says, he says, look, here's the deal. Let's go to chapter 4. He says, if you're willing to renounce the role of guardian of your thought system and open it to me, I will correct it very gently. You see, very loving, very kindly. I will correct it very gently and lead you back to God. It's like if you're dreaming and if you're asleep, you're in bed. Always have been in bed. As the Course says, you are at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable to awaken to your reality. So you're in bed. You're dreaming, and you're dreaming whatever, a nightmare, if you want to call it that way, and you're petrified. Or you're dreaming a pleasant dream, you see? It doesn't matter what kind of a dream is. The bottom line is that you feel that you're not home. Of course you're not home. How could you be home in a dream that is limited when you are in bed where you are the homeless? So anyhow, Jesus says, here's what I'm going to do. If you stop identifying with all the thoughts you've learned, everything, if you stop identifying with them, stop projecting meaning onto anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to little by little make a correction very kindly so you can begin to let go of the dream because you're no longer believing the thought that says this dream is important. There's things out here that are very important. I should hang on to them. My body's important. My life is important. Jesus said, don't worry about it. Just listen to me. And how do we listen to Jesus? Very simple. Stop believing anything you think. That's it. Because now the thought called ego, the thought, the belief in a separation, which is the mind, says, oh, so I'm going to try to listen to Jesus. I cannot listen to Jesus because I cannot listen to truth from the perspective of what is not true. I cannot attempt to get a taste of unlimited when I am in the limited. In other words, I can never listen to the mind that is dreaming the dream from the dream, you see? But I can withdraw the attention from the dream so that I can open myself up to the fact that the mind, that whatever you want to call it, is just what is. This is where this is pointing to. So, another extract from the course. When your peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, say to yourself, I do not know what anything including this means, and so I do not know how to respond to it. And I will not use my own past, meaning my thoughts, my past learning, as the light to guide me now. You see? If you look at forgiveness, forgiveness, on the other hand, is still and quietly does nothing. It offends no aspect of reality, nor seeks to twist it to appearances it likes. It merely looks and waits and judges not. So when you realize is that all the course, according to how life is leading me to practice, and I've seen how we actually literally, it's so obvious, all the course is telling me is don't believe anything you think. The thing about it is that there's still the believe me person who think that is not the one believing anything he thinks. And this is where it gets tricky, you see? Because we try to apply the course from the perspective of the person. There is no person. There is no me. There is no you. All that there is what is. That's what it says God is. I am. Love is. Interestingly enough, let's go to the introduction. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And notice the first line on that second paragraph. This course can be summed up in this manner, meaning that if you get what it's telling you right there, why do you have to read thousands of pages? If it's telling you right there is telling you, look, the whole thing that you're about to read can be summed up here. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So using the analogy of the dream would be, what is real? You in bed. What is unreal? The whole dream. So, you in bed cannot be threatened by the dream. The dream, it's unreal. If that is recognized, voila, herein lies the peace of God. So how do we translate that into our seeming human experience? It's very simple. I'm going to ask you a question. And the question is, how do you know that you are you? How do you know that you are you? Because you're telling everybody that you are you. I am me. This is me. My name is this. This is who I am. This is what I do. How do you know that you are you? I'm going to give you a clue. If you answered the question, you lost the game. Because you have to go to the mind, you have to go to a thought for me to tell me who you are. But if I ask you, don't identify with any thoughts, nothing. And I'm going to ask you, who are you? Without the thought, you simply are. You don't need to close your eyes for this. This is not an exercise. This is the obvious. If you don't identify with any thought, especially the thought that says, I am whoever I think I am, male, female, Puerto Rican, American, Australian, British, good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. These are thoughts. If you don't identify with any thought, and I ask you, who are you? You cannot give me an answer. However, you cannot give me an intellectual answer, but you cannot deny the fact that you are. That is undeniable. You see? So pay close attention. This is going to get interesting. If you're not identified with the thoughts, with any thought, the thought, I am a person, I am this, my name, it doesn't matter. If you don't identify with any thoughts, and you're simply resting in the fact that you are, which is ever present, never changing, it's called the background, if you want to call that way, or that in which everything seems to appear, okay? I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't want you to give me a conceptual answer. I want you to really see it so you can go, oh my God, how could I miss that? If you don't identify with any thought that suggests that you are who you think you are, forget about any thoughts. Oh, the weather is beautiful. No, don't identify. Let them be there. The thoughts will be there. They will be there always. That's another trap, thinking that this is going to lead you to no thinking and control your thoughts. No, don't try to control the mind. That's the mind itself trying to hold on to an identity. If you don't identify with any thoughts right now, if you're willing to renounce to be the guardian of your thought system, you see? If you don't identify with any thoughts, can you say that you are not? You see? You cannot say what you are. You cannot tell me who you are because you don't know who you are and you don't know what you are. But one thing you do know is that you are. Okay? So now, just being, that's it. No thoughts, interpretation, nothing, just being. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to really, really see where this is pointing to. Just being, pure beingness, which never changes, is before the body rises in the morning, while the body seems to be around, after the body goes to bed, and to be more specific, before the body even existed, but just to make it simpler. Beingness, that which is beingness, that, just that. Is that beingness? You can call it space-like, you can call it infinite, but don't even call it that, because that is the mind still. But that beingness, that isness, does that has any problems? Are there any worries in there? Does the space can experience worry? Is there any fear? Is any fear in there? Any kind? It doesn't matter, whatever. Problems only arise when a thought appears that tries to interpret this beingness, you see? Which, by the way, this beingness is what is referred to as the holy instant. Thinking may happen because it's completely spontaneous, but you're not identified with it. You see? So if you don't believe any thoughts, doesn't matter what the thought is. All that there is what is. And that's what you are. And that's need no fixing, pure beingness. Resting in pure beingness, which is not that something you do, it's just what is. Right now, your beingness, in spite whether there's a mind judging or interpreting anything, if you stay there, you're living in a permanent state of forgiveness. Because forgiveness, that's what it is. It's not something that I do. I will forgive so that I can be. No. Forgiveness is simply do not identify with anything you think.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that excerpt from that talk, which lasted about an hour and 40 minutes, so I just gave you about 30 minutes of it. Having said that, if you enjoy the way I put the teachings of the Course into practice, or how I interpret the teachings of the Course, I did write a book. It's called What Happens When You Let God, Rewritten. So there you can get a feel of my understanding of what the Course is about. However, if you want to put the teachings of the Course into practice, the Course stands on its own. So you pick up the book, and with an open heart you read it, and it'll speak to you loud and clear. My book is not a substitution or a suggestion that I do know what the Course is about. I'm just sharing my understanding, my interpretation, and how I put it into practice. I did also make a video, I think it's called The Holy Relationship and the Special Relationship, which is an exception to the rule to this channel, because this channel is not about A Course in Miracles. This channel is about non-duality. However, for some reason I felt inspired to talk about it, to just share with you how I view this idea of relationships, or the holy and special relationships, according to my understanding of how the Course views it. If you'd like to watch that video, I'll put the link in the description below. Having said that, as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.